Welcome back to another episode of Text Processing and Analysis. I am your host, Earl Brown, and we will look at Twitter in this video on how to access tweets from the social media site Twitter. So let's move over to our lesson plan here. And so the objective is that students will understand how to harvest tweets from Twitter's API. Now I say understand because I'm simply going to show you how to do it and give you the code in my solution file and encourage you to do it. But I probably won't ask you to stop the video and do it yourself. So Twitter has an API which stands for Application Programming Interface to allow programmers to harvest or collect tweets with computer programs. So in general, what an API is, it's a way for a website to allow humans to write computer code that then go and interact with their website and grab a bunch of data. That's what an API is. And so it's not only for social media, although a lot of social media sites have an API. So for example, Reddit, you can grab Reddit, human generated language from Reddit with their API. Many other websites, Facebook has an API, but also just other sites like Merriam-Webster's Online Dictionary has an API. So you can grab definitions and synonyms with computer code to automate doing that for many words, for example. And Python has several modules that allow Python programmers to access Twitter's API. And we'll use TweePy or Tweepy, I'm not sure how it's pronounced. I'll say TweePy. It's an easy to use Python library for accessing the Twitter API. And they have good documentation here with a lot of links. And so I have some links in my lesson plan. Now, it's important to realize that Twitter's APIs, as do many or most APIs, if not all APIs these days, return JSON encoded text back from your request. And just to review real quick what JSON encoded text looks like, here is an example of JSON encoded text. And so when we parse this into Python, it's going to turn into a dictionary with those curly braces right there. And so we have these items with the key and a value, right? Here's a key, and the value is actually another dictionary. So anyway, that's what we'll get back. And so it can be highly embedded. Although what I'll show you is pretty easy, pretty simple to see how it works. So what you have to do is first create an app. And you first need to get approved as a developer with Twitter. So even before that, let's start from the very beginning. First, you need to open up a Twitter account if you don't have one. Second, you apply for and then receive approval for a developer account with Twitter so that you can then create what's called an app. Now, it's not an app like on your phone. It's simply a way to have a computer program do things quickly. And so after you create a Twitter account, you go to twitter.com. And you go to your developer portal here. I'm already logged in. Go to your developer portal. And then under projects and apps, you create a project and then an app. And what you want to get down to are the keys here. So there's a handful of keys here. The one that you'll likely see for the API version 2 of Twitter's API version 2 is the bearer token. And you need to generate for the first time. If you're doing this for the first time, a bearer token. Now this token, it's a big long alphanumeric code, and it's like 100 characters long, like more than 100. When I checked mine, it was 114 characters long. It's a massive code that is unique to my app. So I'm not going to walk through the steps of how to create an app. It's a matter of simply clicking through and following the instructions on how to create an app. Now I will point out that there's a standard product track, I think was what they call it. It's kind of the base access to their API, and you get you have more limited number of tweets that you can retrieve per month and per request. But in either case, the other option, there's no other tracks. One is an academic research, and that's like a third step. You have to apply for an academic research product track. I have done so, and it was approved. But that's after getting approved for a developer account. anyway, you don't have to do that. You can simply use the standard project track and get your keys. And what you're looking for is the bearer token. Bearer token there is what you want. And that's what we'll need in Python. Okay, so it's a matter of clicking through the instructions and creating an app, and then looking for and finding the keys and tokens after you've gone through and given a description and other things that need to happen to create an app. As always, if you get stuck with this step, let me know and I can help you out. But assuming that you have an app created and you have your bearer token, what you do is you use that within Python using TweetPy. And there are two ways I'll show you to get tweets. One is to capture tweets in real time with a listener on the API. So your computer is connected to the Twitter's API, and it's listening to all the tweets sent around the world and waiting for a certain hashtag or a keyword or other conditions to be met before it grabs the tweet and puts it on your hard drive. So that's listening. I'll show you that. And here's the doc. Here's the class that does that in TweetPy. That's what I have coded up in my code. I'll show you in a minute. But yeah, you have to pass in your bearer token as the first thing to that class. And another way is to retrieve tweets from approximately the last week with the REST API. And you can create query strings, pretty complex query strings. Let me just show you an example here from my lesson plan. I linked to this for my lesson plan. You can use the AND operator, which actually is simply just a space. You can either type AND capitalized or just spaces between words in your query string. You can use or not, but yeah, use a negative sign for not. So for example, this is giving a specific example here. For example, snow day hashtag no school will match tweets containing the terms snow and day, so the term snow and the term day and the hashtag no school. Or you can say, you can use or. So for example, specifying grumpy or cat or hashtag meme will match any tweets containing at least the terms grumpy or cat or the hashtag meme. One of those. Or excuse me, it will grab specifying and then either grumpy or cat or meme, hashtag meme. You can remove certain things, for example, prepend a dash to a keyword or operator to negate it, not. For example, cat hashtag meme minus grumpy will match tweets containing the hashtag meme and the term cat, but only if they do not contain the word, the term grumpy. One common use of this negative operator is to not get retweets. So you can say negative sign is : retweet to not match retweets. Only get in original tweets or quoted tweets or replies. Okay, so there's quite a few operators here. You should look through this doc page that I linked to for my lesson plan and look at what you can do. You can put, there's order of operations, so you can put parentheses around terms to either get Apple or iPhone and then also get iPad. For example, there. So anyway, I won't take time to look through it all, but you can specify language, happy or happiness in English. Don't give me a tweet that has birthday because I don't want happy birthday, and don't give me retweets is what that means there. So I'll let you look through this on your own time to look at all the examples they have there. And then also they have what are called attributes on tweets, the API version 2, all sorts of stuff. So you always get back the tweet ID. Each tweet has a unique ID. You always get that back. And you always get the text back, the actual human-generated text as well. But you can ask for other things as well if you want. You can ask for the author ID. You can ask for context annotations, which includes like named entity recognition, which like is a natural language processing thing, or even like topic analysis, which is kind of cool. They're doing natural language processing on the back end. Twitter is before you get it. So you can use those. Get the timestamp when the tweet was sent. You can get the entities, the named entities that are present. Their geotag, if there's a geotag, you can ask for it as well and get coordinates on the globe if the Twitter user has opted in for that. You get the language, all sorts of stuff. So I'll let you look through the documentation there. But the logic is kind of what we just said. You apply for and receive approval for a developer app with Twitter. And I have a link there on my lesson plan. Well, this links right into my dashboard. It wouldn't for you, but you need to apply for and get a developer app account, and then create an app. Okay, and then like I said a second ago, you use your bearer token. Actually, here, let me update this real quick. You use your bearer token, and you create a listening stream on the API and listen for tweets. Okay, so that is how you do that. Or you can query, like I mentioned, approximately the last week. And then I'd encourage you to, the next step is to save out the tweets to a JSON file or a CSV file. I'd probably do a JSON because that's how it comes back. And then in a different Python script is when you'd parse through all the tweets that you grabbed and then do something with the tweets. And the reason I would not put the parsing logic in the same script as the retrieving tweet logic is because when you're trying to create your parsing logic and every time you run it, you're asking Twitter for more tweets, you eventually may hit your rate limit and it'll block you for some time, I think 15 minutes. So anyway, that's why I'd separate these two steps. First, retrieve tweets and save them to a JSON file on your hard drive. Then a second script parses through the tweets that are saved in the JSON file on your hard drive. So that's what I recommend. So let's try this. I will demo for you. This really is more of a demo. Perhaps it's a practice if you like to try and follow along. So let's create a listener and listen to a hashtag of our choice and save it to a JSON file. And so you'll need to manually stop the script after a few minutes, or depending on the popularity of the hashtag or the comment or the keyword. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in. If you want to try this on your own, you have you've been approved for a developer account, you have your bearer token, you can give it a try. But if you want to just watch right away, that's totally fine. Okay, so let's do that. Let me just let it go, and I will talk through it. Well, let me actually just talk through it first. Okay, so here we're going to import TweetPy and JSON on line 6. And then here we're using a class that comes with TweetPy called Streaming Client. Let me jump over to the documentation real quick. In the documentation of this package right here, this is the class I'm using, TweetPy.StreamingClient. That's what I'm going to use, and I'm going to modify it a little bit. So what I'm doing is I'm inheriting it. Now this gets into object-oriented programming, which I'm not going to teach you, and I'm not going to even show you. Outside of this right here, this one example, we don't see object-oriented programming in this class. We don't create our own objects, our own classes. But anyway, here what I'm doing is on tweet, I'm going to go ahead and push it out to an output file. Push out the tweet ID, the tweet author ID, and the tweet created at timestamp, the tweet language, as well as the actual text that the human generated. That's what I'm going to push out. I'll also print it to the console, the Python console, so I can just see that it's working. And then I use JSON to dump it out as a string. That S right there means string. And then I ensure ASCII equals false because I want it to actually render emojis correctly rather than just as Unicode strings. Okay, and then here I specify these 3 lines from 22 to 24 simply specify a pathway out to the out file and then just create it. So 23 and 24 just simply create the file and does nothing with it because it simply creates it, and then up here I append. That mode equals A right there is append within this class. Once I hear a tweet that I want, it'll append it to that file. And so that's why it's append right there, but W down here, this is mode equals W right there. Okay, and then here's my bearer token. I have it hidden on line 28. Again, these are like private to your app, and so you shouldn't share these. And then here I make an object. I create an instance of this object. I pass in my bearer token right there. And then here I'm going to add what's called rules. I'm going to say I want to find tweets that have happy and that are not retweets. That's what I'm going to pass in to this stream rule that gets passed into the add rules on this object there. Then I'm going to filter. And like I mentioned, you always get the ID of the tweet and the text of the tweet. But if you want more, then you specify it down here. So I want these other three things: the created at, timestamp, like when the tweet was sent, the author ID, and the language. Okay. So let's see if this runs. I'm going to let it go. Ready, set, keyboard shortcut. So down here in my console, we should see soon some tweets coming through. There's some right there, more tweets coming through. Yep, so people are tweeting right now about happy and that are not retweets. So let me jump over to my downloads directory. And we have a file right here called tweetsstream.json. That's the name I gave it. You can see that the file size right there is growing as I'm talking here. See that file size? I'm circling with my cursor. It's growing. It's up now almost to 400 kilobytes right in there. So I'll just go ahead and stop the listener over here now. That was about 10 seconds, give or take. Stop the listener there. And so it should stop now. And if I just open this up in a text editor and look at it for a second, you can see, let me zoom in a bit here on this text editor. You can see here that this is one tweet, and I got the tweet ID. I got the author ID. So if I wanted to know who this author was, I could go get information about him or her with that author ID. You know, each Twitter user has their unique author ID there. This is when it was created, like right now, as I was talking, it was created, it was sent. The language is English, and then here is the actual text of the tweet. Now it is a retweet. I asked for it not to be a retweet. I'm not sure why I got an RT there, but anyway, so we got some human language right in there, a tweet. Okay. Here's the next one down. So each line, let me just point out here, each line is a tweet. And as you can see, it will come into, you can parse it into Python as a dictionary, right? And so that's the case where I'd encourage you to go line by line and pull one line in and treat it as a dictionary and do something with it, and then pull in the next line, like that. So how many did we get? Let's take a quick look at how many we got in those about 10 seconds. So we got over 2,045 tweets in those about 10 seconds that I was talking that met those criteria. Now I'm not sure why there's not happy in here. I'll have to investigate this a bit more, but the word happy is not in here. I'm not sure, honestly, I'm not sure exactly if it's doing some like natural language processing, but more often than not, you'll have the actual word in there. Anyway, so a lot of human language. You can see here that this looks, I think, Chinese. Looks like Chinese to me. Maybe Japanese. It's probably Japanese. What is the language? Yeah, JA, Japanese. Okay. So that is a listener. I'm listening. It was listening in real time as I had it open. I just left it open and let it listen. Okay. So that's the first way. The second way is to query the API for recently sent tweets that have already been sent, and with a query string of your choice, and then save them to the JSON file. So I will do that right now, or if you'd like to pause the video and try this yourself, go for it. But if you like to watch, just keep watching, as this is more of a demo than a hands-on practice per se. Let me grab all of this and dump it on top of this. I'm going to not share my screen for the moment, go back to this view, hello, and make sure that my code is not exposed, and it is exposed. So let me unexpose, or to cover that up, okay? Go back to this view. So the second way is to query. So we have our bearer token, and mine's hidden on line 11 there. We pass it into this class right there. Then we create a query string. So I'll try COVID-19, and I'm looking for either coronavirus or COVID-19 or COVID-19 no dash or COVID, one of those. And then is not a retweet and language equals English there. And then I pass in that query string on from 16 into 20 here. And then I also want those three additional fields there, and then max 100. So again, with the standard product track of access to their API, you can only get 100 per request. think there's a way to paginate through and get more, but I'll just show you the basic way here. So I get this, I save it to an object called tweets, and then here is where I open up an out file. This again is mode equals write, and save it as UTF-8 as out file. And then here I loop over an attribute of the variable tweets that I saved on line 20, and in each tweet I want to pull out the ID, the author ID, the created at, and the actual text there. I'm seeing now that I don't need context annotations, but that's fine. I save it to a little collector dictionary there, and then I write that out down here. I dump it out with JSON dumps as a string, write it out there. I make sure the emojis render correctly rather than going into their Unicode code, and then save a new line break so that each tweet is on a separate line. So it should save another file called tweetsqueried.json. So let me run this keyboard shortcut. I also had it print out to the console so I could just see that it's working here. COVID, yeah. Unfortunately, 8% of those lost with COVID were obese. Okay. Anyway, so there's tweets there. Let's go out here to my downloads and look at queried, tweets queried. Open this up, and kind of the same idea. Each line is a separate tweet here. And again, I wanted to know, well, I always get the ID. I wanted to know the author ID so that if I wanted to go get information about the author, I could. And then here's the created at. This was created today. Here's the actual text. Now more than ever, you need a COVID plan B when you travel abroad. Otherwise, you could find yourself stuck in quarantine, which may feel like prison. Yep. Okay. So anyway, yeah, we should only have gotten 100. Yeah, we got 100. See, line 100, 100 there is the last tweet. So there's a way to paginate through. If you like to look at that, go for it. If you want my help looking at that, I'd be happy to look at it with you. But okay, so that is how you get, how you query tweets sent recently within the last week. So those are two different ways, again, to get tweets. Either open a listener, just have it listen continuously and grab tweets that it hears that meet your condition, like your search terms, and puts it on your hard drive. Or you can grab tweets that have been sent recently, already sent when you ask for tweets, and grab those. So at this point, you should understand how to harvest tweets using Python and using Twitter's API. Let's go back to this view. So as always, I'm super happy to help. If you get stuck and would like to do this, let me know. I can help you out if you get stuck. My TA should be able to help out as well. All right. See you next time.